Hi, my name's John Paul. I'm AAA's car doctor here in AAA Northeast land. And with me is a real doctor, Jack Kavanaugh. He is the founder and CEO of Nanotech Energy. And Jack, thank you for joining me on this AAA car chat. And it's sort of interesting. I just answered an email from someone who has a real interest in electric cars, but they're concerned about the dangers of lithium-ion batteries because their Apple laptop was recalled because of a possible battery failure. You and one of your companies has developed a completely new battery that could potentially turn all this around, right?
Yes, thank you for inviting me on, John. Appreciate it. And the issues with lithium-ion has been a tremendous breakthrough in batteries. It allows greater storage, greater cycle life, meaning how many times you can charge and discharge and it still work. It has really changed the world of energy storage and delivery. The greatest issues that we saw in our company, which is called Nanotech Energy, is the safety issue. Because these great batteries are still flammable. It's not that every battery that's put into a car is going to burn or explode. Yeah. It's not, but a number of them will. And to us, that's not acceptable. So we spent a good number of years trying to develop, and we have developed a battery that is a lithium-ion battery that delivers the main metrics that you use are density, power, and cycle life. Density is how much energy can you store.
Yep.
Power is how fast can you charge and discharge.
Okay.
And cycle life is, it's usually defined to the 80% level. How many times do you charge and discharge a battery to where it can still deliver, it can still hold 80% of the energy that it did when it was new.
Okay.
Others will define it differently. Some of the car companies will define it as 70%. But to be fair, we use the 80% for comparison. So our task was, let's develop a lithium-ion battery that does all those things. But let's figure out how to take the danger out of it, which is that a certain number of them will explode or catch fire. So we spent a lot of time with the chemistry to figure out exactly what we can do, and we did it, to have a high-performing, very high-performing cell that also is not flammable. So one of the tests that is a quick test that is done to determine flammability is that you take a nail, just a regular nail, and you bang it into the battery. And if you do that to lithium-ion batteries, the most popular ones today, they will first explode. Don't just do it. Don't just go.
Okay, I'm not going to take the battery out of my cordless drill and beat it with a.
You can go on the video on our website, and you can see what happens if you put that into a regular battery. So you put a nail into it, it causes immediate short, and you'll see there's an explosion first, and then it catches fire. But if you do that to ours, that doesn't happen. So our task that we have before us is let's use chemistry and the ingenuity of the scientists that have done this to make a battery that doesn't compromise on the energy, density, the power, the cycle life, and still is absolutely safe. Won't explode and won't catch fire.
Now, I've been watching and driving electric cars for a long time, and I remember I had an electric car many, many years ago. It was powered by a bunch of lead acid golf cart batteries. It was awful. Then I saw them go to nickel cadmium batteries, and they were better, but very expensive. And still people looked at the concerns of carrying around that weight, and weight was a big issue back then. I remember even Ford had a battery that was some sort of a sodium battery that had to stay hot or warm, and if you let the battery go dead, it turned into just a brick of nothing. It was a brick of big expenses, I think, what it turned out to be. Yes. And then as we went into lithium ion, it looked like that was going to be the savior because the batteries are so, I mean, they're in our phones, they're in our cordless tools, and they're in some of the cars today. And again, but it has that concern when if you've seen a lithium battery lithium-ion battery catch fire, it is pretty dramatic looking.
Well, it's an explosion usually, and there are even warnings with some of the manufacturers that if it does catch fire and fire goes out, stay away.
Yeah.
Because they've been known to reflame and catch fire again anywhere from an hour to a week later. So
Yeah.
they're more dangerous even after the fire goes out.
Yeah, I think I read that with one of the Tesla models, that it caught fire and then a week or so later it caught fire again.
Well, that's happened a few times with
Yeah.
Tesla, but also there was a hybrid boat in Norway that had both batteries and fuel power, and the batteries caught fire, the firemen put it out, and while they were there, it reignited and injured them. So you really have to be cautious. So,
Yeah.
and there are a number of causes. The basic cause is that you have a short, but shorts can occur a few ways. A short can occur because there's something called silicon, which is used in batteries to give it more density, so it can hold more charge. Just a kind of a rough estimate is 10% silicon will give you 30% more range in your car. But silicon expands 400% when you charge, and then it contracts when you discharge.
Oh.
So the silicon causes expansion, and anytime inside the battery, if your positive and negative electrodes, your cathode and the anode, touch, that'll catch fire. And when that expansion leads to a touching of those, then it'll explode. And if you saw the video, that's an explosion of one cell. I think the Tesla P100 had 7,104 of those cells in its battery pack in one car.
One
So
car.
you can multiply, and it's like a chain reaction.
Yeah.
You can multiply that times 7,000. It's a powerful explosion and fire.
And
other means of shorts are that there's things called dendrites where the lithium actually forms, I guess the analogy to a cave, like stalagmites and stalactites.
Okay.
And there's a film that separates the positive and negative electrode inside the battery. So if that pokes through the film and they touch, you have a short, something called thermal runaway. There are accidents. Initially, some of the autos, if they went over a manhole cover that happened to come up and penetrate the bottom of the car, that caused immediate short. So there are now titanium plates that are actually put on the bottom to try to protect it. So the same thing can happen in an accident if you hit and it penetrates a battery. So to me, it's not that you're sitting on something that's absolutely going to explode. It doesn't have to happen that often to cause a problem, but certainly it's something I worry about in driving an EV.
Yeah, one of the concerns is, aside from safety, is as battery technology changes, how adaptable is it going to be to charging, temperature? Like you said, your batteries are truly advanced. Do they require anything special as far as recharging, or will they just a level 2, level 3 charging station is going to be able to?
Exactly. They recharge the same way. In fact, our temperature range, low to high, is quite good. Quite good. And we also, there isn't the same declination of performance that you might get with other cells at extremes of temperature.
Yeah.
So we found that the performance is quite good. We actually have, we call them generations, but that's a misnomer because one generation is not an improvement on the next. There are actually 6 different chemistries in the way that we're making cells.
Okay.
We just launched the first one, which is generation 2. Generation 2 went faster than generation 1.
All right.
And that is a certain kind of chemistry, which is called lithium, which is called LCO. So it's a lithium-based chemistry, but it's called LCO chemistry. Probably the end of the first quarter, we will have an NMC, which will be our generation 1. And then that'll be followed by, it'll include silicon. We went back, we don't use silicon now because expansion of the silicon is what caused, for instance, the Samsung 7. Remember all the fires in Samsung 7?
Yep.
That was because of the silicon.
Oh, okay.
So that was an issue. And we took the silicon out initially because we wanted to make it safer. But then when we invented the battery that's now flammable, we now realize we can put the silicon back in.
Oh, okay.
Not going to be a problem. So late next year, we'll have both of the LCO and the NMC chemistries with even higher performance, because we'll get greater storage, because we're not worried about the batteries being flammable. So that takes that issue out of it. So we can use the silicon without the concern that it's going to cause fires.
And your battery relies heavily on graphite, right?
No, well, it relies on graphene, which is made out of graphite. Right. We also are coming up with a sulfur-based technology at the end of next year, which really has great performance. All of these are non-flammable. We've decided we're not going to make any batteries that are flammable. So these are non-flammable. Yes, graphene is used in every one of our batteries. I don't want to sound like I'm being superlative, but we make the best graphene in the world.
Okay.
And that's important, because the graphene it's not everything, but it is a component that leads to better performance. And Dr. Keener, who's one of the founders of Nanotech, he invented graphene in the year 2002. Filed a patent then, which is one of the patents that we hold exclusive rights to. 2004, two British scientists, Kavanaugh and Nebs, they invented graphene a different way, which is using Scotch tape, which is great for laboratory studies, but not commercializable like the way that Dr. Keener did. And they got the Nobel Prize for their work on graphene in 2010. But I think Dr. Keener was a little bit overlooked, because he actually invented graphene, and he invented it in a way that is commercializable. So we have taken a long way down the path of applications. And we are very fortunate, because we make the finest quality of real graphene. You'll hear a lot of claims that we make graphene from other companies. And graphene really is defined as a single layer of carbon. And there are those that make what's called graphene nanoparticles, which just doesn't do the same thing for energy storage and delivery as does the graphene sheets. We make real graphene. It's been confirmed several different ways by independent agencies. And making real graphene allows you to have the best performance in density, how much energy you can charge, in charging speed, as you have lower resistance, and in cycle life, how many times you can charge and discharge your battery and still be at the 80% level. Our generation 2, you can only do a couple, 2, 3 a day. We're out to, we're over 1,400.
Wow.
And we're still over the 80% level. And the leading battery out there does somewhere around 300. So that means we have many more, a multiple of charges. And a lot of that is, some of that's graphene, and the rest of it is that there are other chemistries that we've employed in order to reach that kind of battery performance. But graphene is an important component, and we manufacture our own.
Yeah. When I look at electric cars, and I guess there's about 7 million electric cars on the road today in the United States, I look at the future not that far down the road, maybe 15 or 20 years, that gasoline cars may be as few and far between as trying to go find a car with a manual transmission these days. Just hard to do. And battery development is such an important part of that. Where are you kind of in the development process or manufacturing process now? How soon will we see a Nanotech Energy battery in a car?
We actually have our prototypes already being tested and confirmed just last week. It was confirmed for use in a car. So we make all of our own prototypes.
Okay.
We are right now working on the funding we already have a factory, but we want to build a large factory that will go into scale production of our batteries. That's the next step. And we're also discussing with existing companies the potential of utilizing their capabilities of building our cells. So
Hmm.
we have discussions that would accelerate the process, but we're not just waiting for that. We're going ahead and putting together the requisite funding so we can build out another factory and go to scale production. Auto process takes a while.
Yep.
Once they look at it and say, okay, we're ready, we like it, then it's a number of year process after that by the time the battery pack is designed appropriately and the design and molds are changed. So it takes a few years from once they say we like it. So we're actually developing ourselves for other consumer electronics as well. So it's not focused on the auto, but auto is the largest consumer of these batteries, so it's a natural. So we are in discussions with multiple auto companies that are interested because we have extremely high performance.
Yep.
The highest performance actually in a number of categories. And unlike anybody else who's making high performing lithium ion, ours is non-flammable. And our future generations, which we're already into and they'll be available pretty soon, they have different performances on the different metrics, but it's even higher. And we're only making cells, as I said, that are non-flammable. So we're sticking with that as a part of our heart and soul.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds, when you think about, and, if you think about gasoline cars, you're traveling around with 15 gallons of gasoline, which is flammable. And we've been doing that since the turn of the last century. But cars have gotten safer. But as we look at new technology, and for people to accept this new technology, they have to feel that it's safe. And having a non-flammable battery, and if you look at electric cars today, especially some of the companies like Rivian that are basically making electric skateboards that people are going to bolt bodies on top of, and it's an entire package of batteries. You want those to be as safe as possible, and it sounds like Nanotech Energy has the real key to really bringing this technology forward and making it safer and better and more available, I would think.
We feel that way. And we think, again, our primary goal was to create the highest performing cells, which our graphene helps a lot,
Yep.
As does other chemistries that we've developed, but also make certain that they are safe and not flammable.
Yeah. No, and again, you really look like you've really looked at bringing, usually sometimes everything's a little bit of a compromise. Okay, we can improve the safety, but we're going to slow down the performance. Or we can have good performance and we can have good safety, but the recharge time is going to be slow, or the cycle life is going to be bad. And your company and your partners have kind of put the best of all these worlds together to come up with a battery that sounds fantastic.
Well, the scientists are just absolutely brilliant, and you're absolutely right. They're compromises. If you want to create greater cycle life, usually you're going to give up density or power. If you want greater range, which some of the other companies have gone for, then you're going to give up cycle life or power. So it's like a balloon. You push on one end, something else pops out. Right?
Yeah.
So,
no, it sounds amazing, and I want to thank you for taking a little time out of your day and joining us here and kind of educating us more about this. If people want to find more information about Nanotech Energy, is it just that simple? Go to nanotechenergy.com. Yep, .com. Well, it's fascinating. It sounds like just when there's some naysayer out there who maybe says electric cars are not going to work, this to me sounds like the difference between going from a car that ran on kerosene and wood pellets in the 1900s to a car that is supercharged and develops 650 horsepower. This sounds like the same kind of thing when it comes to electric power for cars.
Yeah, and from an energy standpoint, our approach was to create high cycle life. If we have 5 times the cycle life, that means that life of the car, you're not going to have to get a new battery. which means that it's actually even cleaner for the environment.
Yeah, that's a good point, because we think about, what happens at the end of a cycle life for even a lead acid battery. Most of it can be recycled, but it's a pretty dirty product. And the same thing with lithium ion batteries, what happens at their end of their cycle. But if you can stretch out the cycle life, make it that much longer, it becomes a better environmental product.
And also less expensive for the user because they have longer life. They don't have to replace them as frequently or at all. And so it has a lot of advantages. That's why in balancing, we wanted to make sure, and you're right, you can balance, we can get more density, shorter cycle life.
Right.
But you want a balance of the density and cycle life so that you give them a good balance of the best of both, and not just more of one and less of the other.
Have any of the original equipment manufacturers, whether it's somebody new like Lucid, or whether it's a traditional car company like Mercedes, kind of jumped on the Nanotech Energy bandwagon here?
We're in talks with a number of leading auto companies. If you go to the website and you press the green button that Bobby did for us, there's a 3-minute video, and you'll hear he was the at the time of the video, he was the global head of electric for Daimler-Benz.
Okay.
And he weighs in on the importance of the non-flammable battery that, in his words, are at the highest performance.
Yeah.
So yes, the answer is yes. We were happy with this discussion.
Well, it's fascinating. Again, thank you for taking some time and joining us and helping educate us about all this. Very good. Thank you very much.
Pleasure, anytime.